happens if he lets go? A barcode on everything we own.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Free Thinkers Club. Not the Portland Free Thinkers Club, the Intergalactic Free Thinkers Club, man. I got a free thinker, a real one on our hands today, man. And listen, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I got Luis Ocasio, who is a DJ, producer, musician, recording engineer, and in my opinion, an interdimensional peacekeeper of sorts, man. This man wants to make sure the earth is being healed. He wants to make sure that the kind souls that are inhabiting this rock flying through space, man, that we just making it happen and we thinking on a higher elevation. So Luis, man, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you and your time as always. How are you doing first and foremost on this fine sunny afternoon here on a Wednesday, man?
Good, man. You know, just hanging in as well as I can be given the circumstances. This year's been crazy, but I've just been fortunate enough to, you know, be okay through it. You know, I'm still making music. Just bought a house with my fiance.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
House and doing all the things, you know.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's really interesting because, like, first and foremost, right, you're taking a second to say, like, let me just reflect and say, like, listen, things could be so much worse right now. In all honesty, things could be pretty rough for a lot of people right now. So that's why I think that's, like, first and foremost, just a beautiful thing in and of itself, man, because we're so caught up on go, go, go. At least that's how we're taught in the societal structure in which we're in right now, right? But when we do step back and we say, well, I live in America, which is, you know, all this glamour and glitz and whatnot, and then the little bit of roughness that we see in America, you go to a lot of other places, man, and listen, this is still the greatest day on earth for, you know, a lot of other people. So count your blessings, all that good stuff. But nonetheless, man, let's get straight into a little bit of music talk, man. I'm really interested in GMR, man, Gorge Mouth Records, which is a small Portland label run by you, Luis Ocasio, and Brett Anderson, who collectively you guys are Live Island, right? And before I actually get you to talk about it, folks, if you do not know, you should know, but if you don't know, Luis Ocasio and Brett Anderson of Live Island, they y'all made what you like to refer to as a progressive rock album titled Atlas Suite, right? And when I heard it originally, when I first heard it, it didn't just come out or anything like that, I'm pretty sure at least. But I had heard it, and I heard the first, I guess what you would call the title song, Atlas, right? And it blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. And the reason why is because, I mean, first off, musically, I'm not the most musically inclined individual, so I love the music in and of itself. But you have a special knack for, I'm not going to just put a song with just instruments and vocals, cool. I'm going to actually pose questions. I'm going to make you think, you know what I mean? And you don't got to don't get me wrong. It's not sitting there like, oh, let me, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like an audio book. Let me, like, you know, ponder through this. But there's very insightful questions, man. And if I can get an exclusive from you, just because this is something I've been pondering for a long time. When you hear the intro of the Portland Free Thinkers Club, of the Intergalactic Free Thinkers Club, right? What you hear is, I'd like to ask my brother Atlas what happens if he lets go. And I've been dying to ask you this for a long time, Luis, man. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think that we're all Atlas, man. And the myth, one day I just randomly was curious about it. And I saw this statue. It's like Atlas holding up the globe. Mm-hmm. And I started reading about the myth, and I found out that it's actually, he's not holding up the earth. He's holding up the heavens. He's
the heavens and the skies
off of the earth. And it just kind of like bred into my own mythology about kind of like trying to take care of things, you know? And I'm just like, yo, like, don't let go. You know what I mean? Like, it's getting crazy. I know it's getting crazy, but like, you know, if you let go, the heavens will come crushing down on everything and everybody. And I mean, not even to be doomsday about it. It's supposed to be a positive message, you know, because I'm like, because we're holding it up. We are holding it up, you know. It's not coming crushing down. Like, it's okay, you know. I mean, shit's crazy, but it's not the end yet, you know. And so it's just like, if you let go of that, you know what's going to happen, right?
No, like, for sure.
Future is going to happen.
Yeah. Do you mind? Can I give you my interpretation of it?
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about this, right, I did the same thing. I looked into the mythology because I'm really interested about Greek mythology and just like why exactly is Greek mythology the primary mythology thrown at us here in America, and all that good stuff. I guess that's a whole nother conversation. But I was looking at it and I looked into the myth, right, and the other part of that myth is not only is Atlas holding up the heavens and the skies, that was actually a punishment. That was his punishment because it was the gods versus the Titans, right, and Atlas being a Titan, he lost. So all right, homie, this is your punishment. But there was an interesting thing that happened. So Hercules, right? Everyone knows Hercules, right? Hercules comes along and Atlas is all like, hey, man, I'm chilling doing this thing. And Hercules says, hey, Atlas, man, I have this task that only you would probably be able to take care of for me. So what I'm going to need you to do is trade me your heavens and your skies. I'll hold your burden for a little bit. All you got to do is go handle this task for me, bro. It's all good. And once you come back, you know what I mean? We'll figure something out then. So Atlas comes back, he completes the task. He comes back and he says, you know what, man? I didn't really enjoy holding up those heavens and skies, man. You know what I mean? Like that's for the birds. I'm going to trick Hercules into holding it for me. And I'm just going to run off with the goods or whatever. And then somehow Hercules like outwits the man and then gets him to hold the heavens and the skies once more. And then it's the burden. But I looked at it ultimately as, yes, we are Atlas, but I looked at Atlas even larger as Atlas is the working man. Atlas is the blue collared man that's holding this entire societal structure up. And the question that I really thought about was, what happens if the working man, if the person who the individual collective of people who hold this society together, if we say, you know what, man, we're not running with this anymore. We want change. We want something new. And to me, that was the question of like, what happens if Atlas lets go? Well, you're going to see, man, the small people, the small potatoes, average Joe Blow like me and you, we're actually much more important than just the Joe Blow. We're just cast into this thought, this mental lapse, mental process of, no, we don't matter. You're not important. But as we saw with this global pandemic that we're in right now, the essential worker is the worker that people disrespect on a constant basis, the worker that nobody appreciates until they, people say, oh, you can't work anymore and all that good stuff. So long-winded, I know, but I've been dying to ask you this question for so long. So I'm really glad we were able to kind of hash that out. But back to the original thing we were talking about, Gorge Mouth Records, right? I want to ask you, what was the thought process behind the inception of it? What made you say, you know what, man, I can go and put my music on Spotify or Apple Music or Apple, whatever the case may be, all the fancy things, but I'm going to chill and I'm going to stick to Bandcamp and I'm going to do GMR Records and I'm going to release under 10 Face, who is the alias, one of your DJ aliases, or Luis Ocasio, or, all these other things. So, walk me through that if you don't mind.
Well, really, Live Island was the band first. Brett and I had this band for maybe 10 years. And it was kind of before I learned how to record. The band, we went to the studio several times. We never really got back the product we wanted out of the studio. So I decided I'm going to learn how to record so I can have control over the sound. Also, the band was so strange and weird. Like, we had a hard time getting a foothold because people were like, it was just too weird, It's too like complicated, or not complicated, but it's not like, you can't play that shit in a bar, man.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
People are like, dudes, stop, but then there'd always be like 2 or 3 people who'd be over in the corner, like, because they got it, anyway, so the band, through our infighting, fell apart because we started really picking at each other because it just couldn't take off. It wasn't working, we ended up picking at each other enough to where we fell apart. Just like any relationship.
Yeah, right.
And eventually I created 10 Face, was the alter ego to Live Island, because I was kind of pissed. I was like, Live Island is the truth, it's like, yo, wake up. But 10 Face was like, it was like in the height of EDM. Everyone was like, be a DJ, just be a DJ. I was like, okay, you want to be a DJ? Like, I got pushed to this place where I was like, okay, I'm be a fucking DJ. Like, all right, it's
be
like,
careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah, it was like a suit. So this 10 Face is a supervillain,
Yeah.
10 Face takes the money. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Yeah.
Like, I was like, Live Island, it's like, oh yeah, we'll play anywhere for free. But 10 Face, I'm like, oh, it's got to be, whatever,
Here for the bag, homie,
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you guys didn't want Live Island for all those years. Like, it's like almost revenge, or like vengeful, this like supervillain comes next, right? But then I was like, I mean, ultimately that's even just one moniker, one flavor. And that's also why his name is 10 Face too, is because it's like, there's all these different sides to it. But really, I was like, I need to find a way to wrap all this together. And I started putting out these singles with like Jeff Chilton and stuff. I was like, I need to just wrap it all together into something that I just couldn't like settle on one thing. I want to make too much different stuff. So.
Well, that's the beauty behind it, right? Is that being that we are all, I truly believe all of us are multidimensional. However, through the status quo, we're forced to kind of stick to a lane. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think that creates the best art, you know what I mean? In all honesty, because maybe sometimes you're feeling 10 Face, maybe other times you're feeling Live Island, maybe other times you're just feeling straight up like Luis, you know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty, right? Because it's just so easy to tell people, stay in your lane, bro. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Why are you trying to do this or whatever the case may be? But it goes to show, I really don't want to butcher this because I'm conjuring it up in my head, and I read about it, I mean, some years back or whatever, but there's this, I want to say it's Japanese, so please forgive me if it's not, but there's this like kind of theory about, you know, there's these like 5 faces that people have, or like these 3 faces or whatever. So it's like the face you show your friends, face you show your family, face you show to work, face you show to school or whatever, and then the face that only you see. And I think that is very indicative of, or at least it could be from my interpretation of what that whole 10 face vibe is. But why Bandcamp specifically? Why say, you know what, man? Because Bandcamp, they've been doing like on Fridays or whatever, every couple of weeks or something. They're like increasing the amount of money. So it's not like Spotify that's giving you like 0.2 cents or whatever per stream. Why Bandcamp?
Honestly, it's not about the money. Spotify is such a big platform, and so many people use Spotify that, as capitalist as this sounds, like they get to do that. Like they're getting away with it, so they're doing it. I put my stuff on a Bandcamp all the time, and people don't touch the links because they don't like know Bandcamp, and it's different. You know, they want to go to Spotify, so it's like, you know, they're providing this outlet. They're going to screw you on the you know, royalties. Is just kind of like the name of the game. But the real reason why I go to Bandcamp and only Bandcamp is not just because the money goes directly to the artist, which is a great setup, and I love them for that. But they don't check on my uncleared samples.
And that's the real key right there, right? Which is why a lot of people, really talented people who I know personally, they choose SoundCloud over Spotify and Apple and all of that, right?
They'll do it too, though. They'll clip you too.
Will they? So, I mean, but that's kind of the thing, right? And I've had many debates about sampling and things of that nature, right? And while if you go down to the core of the argument, it does not matter. It does not matter what you think. Sampling is a part of what creative art is. Everything has been sampled. Everything has been sampled. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I always thought that way. At one point, I sat back and I said, well, can't you just be original? Why do you have to sample this thing? And then, you know, like I'm saying, it's just a very foolish way of thinking when you realize, listen to all the music you've ever listened to, you know what I mean? And think about how back in the day, how many limited pieces of music there were out there. People had to find their inspiration from somewhere, man. I truly believe that all the human personality is just a big conjuring of all the interactions you've had throughout your life, and you're just little pieces and reflections of that, maybe with your own twist, maybe not. But nonetheless, we're not nearly as creative as we like to think that we are. But that's always really interesting, man. And I feel you, man, because a lot of people, Bandcamp, they say, I got to do what now? What? Okay, no, we're not. It's not worth my time anymore, it is very foolish. But that's what happens, man. That's why that Spotify model works and the Apple Music model works, right? Because you can get people so hooked into that ecosystem that nothing else seems appealing to them anymore. But
at this point in my career, it doesn't matter the money. I'm not making money nowhere, so like I just got to get it into people's ears, and I'm like, I don't care whether. Do
you feel a call? And this is something that I've had to ask myself before. Do you feel a call to wake people up? Like, I get asked this all the time, bro. Why do you even care if people think this or not? And I'm just like, because y'all don't understand. You're not seeing it. It's right in front of you. I'm trying to like I said, I consider you to be like an interdimensional peacekeeper, man. Because you're just saying, like, legitimately, hey, man, wake up. Like, I need you guys to see that there's a larger picture here, and you're so stuck on this microcosm that you're not understanding that this is a big game, man. A bunch of pawns and chess pieces. So do you feel a call?
I mean, definitely. Definitely.
Well, here, let me read something really quickly, if you don't mind, because I think this is stuff that's very indicative of the personality of the type of individual that you are, right? So I'm going to read one thing. I'm going to read this thing first, but I got another thing that I want to comment on for you. So this is a quote of yours. So I did a little bit of digging, you know what I'm saying? It's not the most digging, you know what I'm saying? I ain't have to look too hard, but you do these things where you'll post a little bit of your music, a nice little visual. I like that you do all your own stuff, create your own little edits and whatnot. And then you put, just a little caption underneath. So you had said, quote, there's a lot of bullshit going around right now. I'd like to encourage all of my free thinking friends to keep your eyes open and ears clear. Pretty much everything we're hearing is biased right now. Stay neutral, my friends. Don't get sucked into the mess. We have lives to live and work to do. The puppet masters are using our emotions to move us around the chessboard. Don't let them. Think for yourself. It's okay to not know the answer. Just don't go with the mob, either of them. And that's a very on the fence type of statement to make, which is where I like to lie, right? Why you got to pick a side? What are we talking about, man? Just know that we are the masses. There is somebody trying to manipulate our emotions, which is one of the most powerful aspects of a human being, right? Is emotion. And they're trying to just manipulate it to their liking to get us to do their dirty work for them, right? And you're saying, I want no part of that. You know what I mean? I want to, how come there's a barcode on everything that we own? You know what I'm saying? How come there's all these things going? So like, what makes you post little things like that? That's kind of that call that I'm talking about. You ain't got to do that, but you do it anyways. It's kind of the same reason I'll put out these crazy quotes. So, walk me through that.
Well, I feel like right now it's the political landscape is so dangerous, and what you say is so like you can be canceled like for not even anything that's that heinous.
True.
And so I almost can't even give my opinion on some of these things because I don't want to be misrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
So like my best bet is to just encourage everyone else to just look twice,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, it's not that simple. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, just take a second. It's easy to just be like, for instance, half of the country is just clearly racist. Like,
Sure.
Nah, that's too easy. I would like that to be an easy solution. Be like, oh, all those stupid people over there, they aren't even worth talking to because they don't understand anything. It's like, be careful with that because it's more complicated than that. And as I see everybody like, well, obviously this and obviously that, I'm like, okay.
It's a little too cut and dry, man. It's like you're saying, you're like, I wish it was simple as that, man, but it's so complicated, man. And you cannot sit here and just assume. So like, I'm big on like combat sports and things of that nature, right? So it's like one of the sayings is you never underestimate your opponent, but all I see is people underestimating half of the country. And
yes.
It doesn't make sense to me because it's like, listen, man,
it's a bad argument.
It's not only is it just a not valid, not sound argument, it's also if you travel at all, if you've met these people and talked to any of these people, you'll see, man, people aren't just crazy. Just because you believe in religion doesn't make you dumb. And a lot of people out here will be like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? I can't say I haven't dabbled in my fair share of like, what's real, what's not, but having a definitive stance as opposed to pondering are two completely different things. And it feels like we're no longer allowed to ponder, at least not in a public space, right? The pondering has to be done in conversations like these where we're just in little Zoom meetings tucked off, like, oh God, I hope they don't hear us. You know what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be that way. And we shouldn't have to live in fear of being canceled over an objective statement. You know what I mean? Or just an opinion, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this, man. Somebody wants to be really, really racist, right? We're two brown folks right here. Somebody wants to be really racist and really crazy, right? Is it disrespectful? Sure. Is it upsetting? Sure. Do I have to listen to it? No, I don't. Why am I going to put myself in position to be like, oh, that's all I'm going to watch all day long, so I'm going to be all pissed off? Dude, turn it off, man. It's like how would you say, this is going to be a bad term for it, but it's kind of like watching like porn in a sense, but like to get that fix of like, I need to be angry. You know what I mean?
Porn, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that like, again, it's super complex, but I believe as far as Black Lives Matter is concerned, again, two brown people here is like, I'm Puerto Rican. It's like, you want to talk about what happened in Puerto Rico? What's still going on in Puerto Rico? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not that I'm not down. I've been very down. Like, you want to look at my bookshelf, you know what I mean? It's like half of it's Malcolm X, you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm very, very down. But I also see that somebody is using our emotions to move us. And because it doesn't all line up, it doesn't all make perfect sense. And I've studied this stuff too. So I have all these kids who haven't actually read the books who are like, well, it's like this, I'm like, like you ain't read the books.
But that's the thing too, right? Is you can see, this is one of my favorite saying, man, because as someone who looks like me, people can assume whatever they want to assume about me. That's none of my business, to be honest, right? But oftentimes there have been assumptions of a lack of intelligence, or at least a lack of intelligence in which that I believe that I hold, right? So when I I like this saying, and I say, you sound smart to a dumb person, man. You sound smart to someone who don't know shit. You feel me? But I'm right, like you said, man. I did my homework, man. You can't play a player and you can't hustle a hustler, bro. What are we talking about, man? So it's interesting, man. And I'm really glad that you will take that stand, or you will sit there and say, like, listen, man, it is more complicated than that. You want to have a combo, whatever. Let's talk. Let's have a combo or whatever. But it's not. The problem is you're wrong. All right, let's talk about it. No, I don't talk to people who are wrong. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and it makes no sense, man. So outside of the political stuff, right? You know what I mean? Because you are more than just the dude who ponders on the politics of life, right? Even though it is incredibly important, man. One of the reasons I've been drawn to you just as an individual, you know what I mean, is because the kind of energy that you carry, right? And you have this like ability as a musician, right, to ask these unpopular questions. That's the biggest part, right? And I kind of hit on it earlier, but I think these questions are very invaluable, right? So you have this like, what brought you to have this like esoteric content of music? You know what I mean? Like the esoteric aspect of it, do you do that on purpose, or are you just that high level in terms of thinking?
It's weird. It's weird to think about it in third person, but to be just candid and honest, like I'm just playing whatever comes out. And it just sometimes comes out like I just took a bunch of mushrooms, and sometimes it comes out like Snoop Dogg. So
well, listen, okay, well that's perfect, right? So I'm just gonna recite this. You tell me what you think about this. When you visit an old memory, I mean a place where memory lives. This neighborhood, it has a ghostly vibe. Old houses with old trees, and everyone seems friendly, right? This is where my memory lives. The memory of my first mushroom trip. And listen, man, beautiful, right? This experience is not for the giggles, right? Though there are always plenty of those. Now, when we first discovered the mushroom, we knew it was a sacrament for vision quests, not a party drug. Very important. We learned and unlearned so much that evening. It was such a powerful experience that I haven't gone back across the void in probably more than 10 years. I have dabbled here and there with close friends who I want to share this door with, but I always had a light and very controlled trip. Moving into this neighborhood where the first trip took place is bringing back some feelings of adventure, the feelings of strength that one needs to make it through a heroic dose. Doesn't really matter though, I guess, because dinner's served, and I wouldn't want to be rude, man. First and foremost, I have to applaud you and appreciate you because you're one of the few that look at it the way that I look at it. This is a door. This is a very temporary amount of time to interact with the higher power. In my opinion, this is solely just my opinion right here, right? And I truly believe, man, these things, I haven't done mushrooms in some years now. And the reason why is because it's not one of those things. Oh, I've been offered plenty of times. Don't get me wrong. But when I need when I need a reset, when I need that mental clarity, I just need to take all of the biases that are stuck inside my mind and I need to squash it for a second and be humbled. That's when I go to the mushrooms. That's when I enter that door. And sometimes I'll even try to write it down and try to be like, let me take as much as I can, but then you can't because I need to be full in. I can't sit here and be analytical. I need to be all into the experience, man. What have mushrooms contributed in terms of your life? How have they contributed in terms of your life, man? And why are you kind of along that lines, man, where you'll do your own self-discipline to not use it freely and often and whatever the case may be, nonchalantly. And it's more like, all right, it's time to sit down and focus. Why is that for you?
Well, first of all, it's not hard to use them recreationally because it's so uncomfortable on my stomach to take them that I just don't want to anyway.
True.
It's like I'm almost scared of them, But yeah, it's weird because speaking of Brett, he was with me on that trip. It was me and Brett and one other friend of ours, and we just like got an ounce of mushrooms and like split it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like we kind of worked on it for a week, but then by like the end of the week, we were like, "Yo, let's just finish this bag," because you kind of get the tolerance up, But then it was like, that last dose was 9.5 grams.
Oh yeah, you was lit.
Yeah, I forgot my name, like that style,
It's because you don't have a name, man. It's because you're not a person. We're nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But continue. Yeah.
But it was cool because I just remember like, I remember like reaching for my keys and my wallet, and we like it's like, and it was like none of us knew. I'm like excited talking about it.
Yeah.
None of us knew what was happening, but we knew what was happening. Mm-hmm. And it was like, we were like dying kind of, or like, I was kind of like, what about my car? And my friend's like, I remember my friend, he was just like super like calm. He was like, don't worry about your car, you know? And I was like, what about my parents? Like, you know, he's like, don't worry about your parents, you know? And we just kind of like crossed through into this realm for, I don't know how long. And then by the time we came back down, I remember just staring at this Miles Davis record that was hanging on the wall and not knowing who he was or what it was. And I can't feel that again because I know what it was, but it's just like so interesting to have so much of it. I mean, you know, obviously it wasn't just like 0 to blank, but like to get all the way to blank to where I was just like, didn't even know like what music was. And I know this kind of sounds like a bad thing probably to anybody listening.
I could say, yeah, I could see how somebody who would never experience it, man, but that's like the most, it's the greatest, most prolific thing about it. You know what I'm saying? It's that ego death. That feeling of death you're talking, it's just straight ego being squashed.
Let it all go.
Yeah.
You know? And then through the thing, like we were having all this crazy conversation too about just like, you know, that stuff that just comes to you as like universal truth, you know, and everyone's like, yeah, it is like that.
Yeah, man. It's a beautiful thing, though. It truly is a beautiful thing. And luckily for us, we live in Oregon, right? Where now these things are more or less decriminalized. You know what I'm saying? They might take it from you, might fine you, but they ain't gonna throw you in jail for it. And that's the beauty of it, man. And it's already, listen, man, there's different settings, right? You could do it indoors, like a, you know, solo dolo, lights off, music blasting. You know what I'm saying? You know what's interesting? There's this song by Black Sabbath. That's a band, right? So there's this they got this song, god damn it, I'm forgetting what it is, but it's like one of their most experimental songs, you know what I mean? It's like a terrible time for me to forget, but nonetheless, I did a trip, man, where I played that hundreds of times back over and over and over again, lights dark and all that. And then you got the other parts where I'm out in the park, you know what I'm saying, chilling, staring at a tree for 10 minutes, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, these experiences, man, we don't even have to go into it because this is going to be a super long conversation if we do that. But you can argue, man, mushrooms, they might not even be from this planet. You know what I'm saying? That might be just a true link to the intergalactic, you know what I mean, aspects of what humanity possibly could be or what civilization possibly could be. But nonetheless, man, I want to ask you this since we're already on the mushroom talk, man. Who are you in this grand scheme of life? You know what I mean? Like if you had to give an answer, what is your role on this planet and why do you feel that the earth needs to be healed?
Just because we don't have a choice, you know, we just literally don't have a choice. It's like pretty much, I mean, the earth's going to probably survive without us, you know? So it's not even really like the earth needs saving, but our environment needs saving, you know. Sure. And I'm not talking about like the Green New Deal and like I don't even know if global warming's real or not. Like honestly, I don't know shit. I'm just like this guy, you know.
Got questions. That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And so what I do know how to do is like take care of my garden, and it bothers me when the water coming out of my house is so polluted that I can't use it in my garden without filtering it first.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. And so it's like, we can't continue going down that road, and we're not going to fix it with like carbon taxes. So I honestly, in my early 20s, I had a series of community gardens that I tried to be like a launching pad for me to like influence culture. And it just never really took off. People were like, what are you doing this for? You know, and again, the live violence to 10 face thing, you know, at a certain point I was like, well, I'm kind of giving up, you know, because it's on you guys, you know, like I can put the music out there, I can put the message out there. I can't force everybody to move, you know, and at a certain point it's like, you know, I just can put the message out, and I feel like I'm the violinist on the Titanic. We're just like, I'm just gonna keep rocking it. Keep rocking it. You know?
So it's funny though, man, because you're saying like, well, I'm kind of giving up. It doesn't necessarily sound like that. It sounds something that I've experienced in other categories, right? And this is kind of my experience with higher education is you get jaded, right? You just get a little jaded. You know what I'm saying? You start to resent kind of what this system is, and how this system got into place and how it's so powerful. Like they say, man, that whole Rage Against the Machine stuff, man, like, you know, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of like rock music in general, but I like the ethos, you know, Rage Against
I
that
love
machine.
Rage, man. Rage is my shit.
All right. And listen, it's just also part, you know, just how I grew up. I didn't really grow up on rock music and stuff like that. That was Portland was really my first experience of that. And so when you say, oh man, you know, I got like, you want that banging stuff, salsa chops. You want something that's like a little experimental, or I got a prog rock album. And I'm like, man, you're doing such disservice to this great album that I love listening to, dude. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, man, so if you had to live your life, man, without receiving the answers to some of your biggest questions, would you consider that to be a life well lived?
For sure, because a lot of people don't get their answers until, I mean, society doesn't get the answers to some certain thinkers' questions until way after that person's dead. So it's like, you just got to put your shit out there.
So it makes me like ponder that question. And that's the platform. This is the whole ethos of this show, right? Sometimes questions are truly more important than answers. And
Sure
it feels like the equivalent of, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? And I think that's the beautiful part, man, because so many people, you've heard it before, man, why are you asking a dumb question? It's like, bro, is it a dumb question though? Like, is it really? Or do you just, you know, are you so programmed to think there's only one answer to this, right? If I ask you a question, you're like, no, there's one answer. You do it this way. It's like, well, like, I'm sure there's another way you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but and it's interesting how things work that way, man, how we become so like one track minded and whatnot, man. But I guess this lends to the bigger question of like, what do you envision to be to occur next for this city that we inhabit, more or less, right? Portland, right? This city that was such a sprawling hub for artists and creativity and music and food and laughter and good times, man. Some of the biggest draws to the city have more or less been destroyed due to poor city leadership and fear mongering, a lot of fear mongering. So do you think once this summer hits, maybe the city starts to revive itself, or are we just seeing the exodus of cities? It's no longer what things once were.
Well, it depends on what happens with the virus. It depends on what happens with the culture, if people feel comfortable again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, if it seems like some certain areas people are rushing back to go out. I've been doing a series of gigs here in town that are like outdoors and masked. It seems like there's a certain group of people who are really thankful to have a place to go hang out and just like, you know, yeah. But at the same time, every time I go out, I'm like, should I be doing this? You know? And it's just a weird space to be in. And part of me is like, I'm just so thankful I have a studio, you know, because I can, you know, I'm focused on not live music, you know, because I'm focused on, you know, video and stuff right now, because I got to find another, like, the internet's the stage right now. It's just not in front of people. And which actually in a weird way has been cool for me, because my like DJing's cool, but that was kind of like, that's just a side hustle, to be honest. Like, my main goal as a musician is Live Island, really. I would love to have like full band, like horn section, everything, execute Live Island songs. But since that wasn't happening, for me to just be able to be in the studio and just kind of like do whatever's in my head and maybe make some video, it's kind of like, that's all I can think of right now. I don't know what's going to happen with the city, you know?
Well, so is that how you get your music fixed these days? You know what I'm saying? Is just like having to do it all. And it's not a bad gig, man. There's something different about live music, just like there's something different about live sports, right? We love it. There's an energy to it. Having fans in an arena as opposed to people playing basketball in an empty arena, you know, it's just different, right? I was just having a conversation with, I'm sure you're familiar, the Trailblazers DJ OG1.
No.
Well, he's Trailblazers DJ, you know what I'm saying? So he's just sitting here. He's like, bro, I'm in the Moda Center and I'm DJing to like a bunch of like cardboard cutouts. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just funny because it's like that energy is gone. You're like, I'm used to interacting with the crowd and going to the stage, and then I'm going to my DJ booth and I'm going down to the court and I'm DJing and doing all that stuff. And it's different. And that's the thing, man. They say that people always talk about survival of the fittest, right? And they think fit is like, oh, you got to be big and strong. No, you just got to be able to fit. You need to be able to adapt to whatever your new environment is. And what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people who have used social media for clout, have used maybe some connections that they had, maybe didn't have to work hard, but they got put into a good place, or maybe they worked really hard and then got comfortable, right? And then COVID happened and everybody's momentum has basically been rocked, something crucially, man. Now, my question to you is this, man. As a creative, you understand understand the difficulty it takes, you know what I mean, to create something, right? But I often think that some of the greatest music of all time has been created at times of turmoil, right? I use this example all the time. Marvin Gaye in the Vietnam War. Would that album have been able to come out if Vietnam and racism conflicting America, if that wasn't happening? I don't know if it would have been able to come out, because a lot of the content of that music is straight directed to that.
What's going on?
Exactly. Beautiful song that I still play it damn near every day. You know what I'm saying? And it's a message that rings true. My question to you is, do you think COVID sparks that same thing?
I think maybe the combination of all that's going on, maybe. I mean, it's definitely like, I'm trying to get the band back together. You know, I've been calling the cats from Live Island, like, yo, could we do this? Like, because we were doing it in, you know, 2015, where everyone was like, party, fucking EDM, you know. And now it's like the ethos is back to that, you know, thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you know, it definitely, I think it's definitely gonna change music, you know. All that, like, that party vibe was just like, fuck, party, you know. It's like, it wouldn't surprise me the way that everything goes through cycles. You know, we might hit another like 90s grunge thing, you know. The music might start coming out dark, you know. All these cats locked in, you know, these kids locked in their rooms, can't even go to school, you know, like isolated, you know. Might have some grunge rock, grunge techno.
Yeah, we might have something crazy, man. And listen, ultimately, they say art is simply just a reflection of society. You know what I mean? It's just a byproduct of what's happening. It's just holding a mirror up and saying, hey, yeah, that's us. You know, that's what it is. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but that's the truth. And so many people, when they're not happy with the truth, they say, you know what, that truth doesn't fit my narrative. I'm just going to create my own truth. And I don't have to listen to your truth. Why? Because it's fake news, and it's this and it's that. And we live in a world where the internet has brought so many people together. And this is kind of one of the things I want to conclude on with you here, man. There's this, I was listening to Joe Rogan talk with Freddie Gibbs and all that, you know, these rappers and whatnot. He was just having a conversation on his podcast, and they were talking about something that I've always thought the absolute opposite of. They said that the reason why we have so many problems is because of our inability to communicate effectively, right? If we all had a universal translator and we could all talk to each other, all of our problems would go away. We would all hug and we'd all do these things. And I don't agree. I absolutely do not agree. I think the completely inverse. I think the more people you have in front of you to be able to talk to, who all have different cultures and different ways of thinking about things and different gods and different this and different that, it just creates more problems. You're going to have more confrontations because more people are going to be able to talk to you, right? You can't sit here and convince me that I have family members right now living in I want to say not Abu Dhabi, Emirates, UAE. There we go. The United Arab Emirates, right? And they just get down differently than they do out here, man. You can't knock them. That's their culture. That's how they get down. I'd be a fool to sit here and be like, no, you have to live the way I live, and you have to think the way that I think, man. That's the beauty of what the United States should have been. It's basically like the EU, right? We're a bunch of little countries in this big ass united thing that we call states in the United States of America. So nonetheless, man, I just wanted your take on that to kind of conclude this thing out, man. Do you think that if we had that universal translator, things would go better or worse?
No, I think you're right. The idea of everyone being able to talk, that would solve all the problems. Like, no, we would just be able to communicate the problems. But I think what's more important is right now we need to be able to communicate about problems, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's like you got to be able to sit down face to face with somebody that you absolutely disagree with and be able to talk it out without slugging it out. And that's what is going to keep us from devolving back into some dark ages shit, you know?
Yo, check this out, man. I was just listening. I was watching a documentary or something like this. It was something interesting, but it was a really interesting point. They said politics is simply, it's basically war just without weapons and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like verbal warfare as opposed to war where it's like, oh no, we're actually going to come for you with the guns and the rockets and the drones, right? So if politics is us going to war, but sparring with words and things of that nature, man, then we should probably hold our political leaders a little more accountable, right? You know what I mean? I know we can go on a tangent with that, but how you feel about that?
I don't, this shit's such a mess that I don't put any faith in anybody but myself. I'm like, kind of like that.
I like that. Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to vote on this fool to like fix my shit or like fix the shit. It's, I think that system is almost part of the ploy.
Oh
you know?
yeah, it's a false choice. It's a pseudo choice, right? They say like, "Hey man, I'm gonna give you this person you don't like and this person you don't like, and then you're going to vote for one. You have to vote for one of them. You know what I'm saying? So hey, you voted for him, not me, and that's why the same reason why everyone hated Trump just a couple months ago, and now they're like, "Hey Biden, what the fuck? Why aren't you doing this thing? Why don't you? Why you think, bro? Really? You think that's all it takes? One dude comes in, and
I
all,
was gonna do it, like you know.
and it's crazy,
They're
and
all
it
politicians, man. Even Obama was a politician.
Obama, Bernie, all these cats, man. You know what I mean? So ultimately, man, I'm glad to be able to share a conversation with you, being that you are a dude who thinks about the bigger picture, man. It's so important these days, so important. And I just urge more people. This is a really important conversation. I just want people to listen to this and just say this, man. Maybe I don't got it all figured out. Maybe I can challenge my own beliefs. You had also said something that you had been feeling. You had posted this on Instagram. This is the last thing I got for you. You had posted this on Instagram and you had kind of said, listen, man, I can kind of feel that my cognitive dissonance is getting to me, man. The hardest thing to challenge is like your own belief systems, the things that you believe in, man. So if you had, I'm going to give you the stage right now, man. If you had one piece of advice for people to kind of open up their ways of thinking, to be able to challenge their belief systems and their cognitive dissonance, what would it be?
If you're on the left, watch right-wing correspondence, and if you're on the right, watch left-wing correspondence, because they both actually want the same thing. And I know it sounds crazy, but being somebody who's totally neutral, I grew up a lefty. Through all this shit, I was like, okay, what do they actually think? I started watching right-wing shit, and like, if I'm totally objective, like some of it makes sense, a lot of it makes sense, and you know what I'm saying? So like through this whole thing, when there's like us versus them, these two teams, everyone's like, well, no, you're like this and you're like this, and it's like making caricatures of each other. I was like,
Yeah,
let's go see what they say, what they think, and both sides want the same thing. You want the overarching power to not be able to ruin your life. You know, you want to be free to they just talk about it in different ways, and we get arguing over semantics, but it's literally the same thing. They got us arguing about it because it's divide and conquer. That's all it is. They got us arguing about how we're going to go about making a better life. We both want to make a better life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man.
Arguing so we can't, so they can keep us fucking, you know.
It's old school tactical warfare, man. And if you think about it, this is something they mentioned on Rogan too. That whole entire thing of that divide and conquer, and create all these languages so no one will be able to communicate. They say that was straight about the Tower of Babel. So it's like, listen, I'm not the most well versed on the Bible and stuff like that, but I'm like, damn, man, what a playbook has been written so long ago. It's clear, damn shit working or whatever. But if you all into that, man, like I said, just ask a couple questions. Do a little bit of history, man. If you don't know your history, maybe that's why you're surprised, man. But it's a big ass circle. We keep going in this damn circle, man. So
if you can't stomach listening to the other person, like, it's your problem.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. That's totally true. And that's the biggest thing, man. You know what I mean? You just give people a chance. That's it. I just say this, man. Just give them a chance. What's the worst thing that can happen? They disappoint you. All right, well, people are disappointing you every day anyway. So what are we talking about?
And just peace, so it's like
exactly. But hey, man, Luis, this has been an amazing conversation. I wish we can go on longer, man. We definitely gonna have to run it back. But listen, man, where can people find you on social media and all that good stuff? Where you can go spread your message?
At the Luis Ocasio, Instagram, Twitter. Find me on Bandcamp under GM Records. Bandcamp.com.
Right on, man. And all that stuff will be in the show notes below, folks. So you ain't got to go and sit here worry about spelling and all that. I got some links for you. Don't you worry. But hey, Luis, man, this has been a pleasure and an honor. And listen, that's all I got. So until next time, folks, peace.